Daulton Varsho continued his hot streak at the plate yesterday by hitting another home run. His season total is up to six. Not only has he been the best defender in baseball, he has been the Blue Jays' best hitter in the early portion of the season. So we'll break down his brilliance and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Daulton Varsho has been the topic of conversation lately around Jays land and just Jays fans in general. He has been so good. He has been as good as advertised. I mean, obviously, coming off a disappointing year last year, we wanted to see some progression, and we wanted to see Daulton Varsho sort of get back to that power that he had in Arizona and continue his stellar defense in the outfield. Well, he has continued his stellar defense, and he has regained some of his power that he flashed in Arizona when he hit 27 home runs. But on top of that, he's changed his approach. Not only is he hitting more home runs than he did last year, he's getting on base at a better clip. He's being more selective, and he's not missing his pitch when he gets it. And he's able to cover more surface area of the strike zone, which is a big problem that he had last year. He wasn't able to adjust to high fastballs. He was very easy to attack for opposing pitchers. Doesn't look like that's the case to start off this season. So, Nick, he's been very impressive. I don't know where the Blue Jays would be without his heroics to start off the year. Maybe under 500, maybe even worse than that. And I mean, he's been so good, and he's really starting to find something here. Let's hope that this is not a flash in the pan, and he can keep it going for a while. But he's really fun to watch right now, and the Blue Jays need every second of it.
Yeah, we obviously saw him yesterday hit that big home run in the game. Last night, that put him up by 5, which ultimately ended up being the difference in the game as Kikuchi gave up a couple runs and then Romano gave up one. But Peter, we kind of were hoping coming into this season, the big talk around Daulton Varsho was how the Jays got fleeced. Gabriel Moreno obviously had the big World Series run. And now that conversation is shifting a little bit back towards the Blue Jays side. Before we get into it, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. But no one really saw this coming for Daulton Varsho. When you're looking at position players' war, he is now, and we made a video on this yesterday or the day before, we covered it a little bit as well. He has now surpassed Bobby Witt Jr., well, tied with Bobby Witt Jr., I think technically ahead when you look at the decimal places. And the list of players he's with are all players who are very good. You see Juan Soto, you see Salvi Perez is having a breakout year. But the point is, Daulton Varsho, because he has been able to hit for so much power this season, his average is only 240-ish. He is turning into one of the best. He's been one of the best players in baseball right now, and that is not something that anyone expected coming into the season. We knew we had the capability to do it, but if he can sustain even 75% of what he's been doing over the past 10 games, then he has the chance to be an elite outfielder, which is what Ross Atkins traded for him for when they got him from the Diamondbacks. They didn't trade for him to be obviously the player he was last year, even the player necessarily wasn't his last year of the Diamondback, which is still 5 WAR. They think that he can get up to that 6, maybe even approaching 7 WAR when he's in his prime and at his absolute ceiling because of everything we've mentioned, the base running, the best outfielder in baseball. And now if he can hit for power, I mean, the MLB is in for a serious surprise. And in a year where Vladdy is struggling and Bo's struggling, the Jays desperately need it, and they're off to a pretty good start this year.
Yeah, and I don't think there has to be a clear-cut winner for the trade either. Obviously, in the short term so far, it's worked out better for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they made a World Series last year, and the Blue Jays lasted 2 games in the playoffs. So there's levels to this, and Gabriel Moreno was instrumental in getting the Diamondbacks to the World Series. I think both teams could benefit from this. The Blue Jays traded from a position of strength and addressed an area of need. And you could say that the Diamondbacks went ahead and did the same thing. Corbin Carroll has been very good for them, and he's an MVP candidate. It looks like he's going to be an MVP candidate on a yearly basis. And they had a lot of left-handed hitting outfielders, and Daulton Varsho just didn't fit with the timeline of the team. I don't think they expected to be as good as they were last year, but well, there they were playing into late October and early November, and they nearly won the whole damn thing. So it's worked out so far for the Arizona Diamondbacks, a little bit better than it has for the Blue Jays. But I don't think we can say that it won't work out for the Blue Jays in the long term. I mean, Daulton Varsho still has 2 more years left before his service time is up after this season. So he's got a lot of time to redeem himself and just keep progressing as a player. He's only 27 years old. He's about to be 28. So he's got a lot of baseball left in him, plays the game the right way, the best defensive outfielder in baseball, and which is a very underrated aspect of him because he does play in left field. But once he does play center field next year, assuming that Kevin Kiermaier is no longer the everyday center fielder for the Jays, then his value just jumps up automatically because of how good he is and the premium position that he plays. So I think both teams can benefit from this. I think Varsho has been a great surprise to start off this year. And again, it's the consistency because he had a pretty hot stretch last season as well. We thought he was turning the corner when they played against the Red Sox in Fenway. And then it ended up being just a flash in the pan. He wasn't able to sustain that for the rest of the regular season. So we got to see this over an extended period of time with Varsho, but right now he's been the Jays' most important player, and he's been their best player to start off this year, their best position player, I should say. And I don't know where they would be if he hasn't been playing this way.
And this is why it's dumb to judge trades after one season because stuff like this can happen. And I think, Peter, this will ultimately end up as a win-win for both teams when it's all said and
And
done.
that's okay.
And that's
And
good.
that's
That's the
okay.
best case scenario for both
Yeah.
teams, really, in this case. But let's get into some more stats here. Last 10 games, he has been carrying the Toronto Blue Jays the past however many games. And they're off to a very solid start, 13-10. They could have won a lot more. But when you look at some of the teammates, and they really appreciate it, obviously the pitchers are going to appreciate him probably the most because of his defense. He said he worked, usually Kikuchi, on Daulton Varsho, quote, he works really hard behind the scenes. Even on our team flight, he's watching videos, analyzing his own swing, and trying to get advice from other players like George and Bo. It's paying off, and I'm really happy to see him succeeding, end quote. Now, Peter, he's made an adjustment to his stance. He's made an adjustment to his approach. We saw it in spring training. It worked in spring training. Hasn't translated for some of the other guys like George Springer, who was off to a great start in spring training. But he's made a difference. And you look at his stats, we knew he wasn't going to be an 85 OPS plus guy. Well, we hoped he wasn't going to be an 85 OPS plus guy. You said it in the spring training, in the offseason. I said it as well. If he can approach a 750-ish OPS, then he's going to be a 5-WAR player with ease, and that's not super hard to do.
Yeah.
He has a 156 OPS plus in a year where hitting is down league wide. Like the average OPS is something in the high 600s or very low 700s. And Daulton Varsho's out there now, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs. And you look at his 2022 stats, which is what the Jays traded when he was with the Diamondbacks, 27 home runs, around a 750 OPS, like you said, and he hit 5-WAR, which is all the Jays could want in the world right now. And he's off. I don't know if this is his breakout. He's only he's 27 years old, but he's only been in the league for 5 years. We didn't come up super, super young. He came up at 23 years old and had his first real full season in 2021. But no one saw this coming. Maybe the Jays saw this coming. I certainly didn't. Savant Page starting to look a little bit better. And, I mean, he is the best outfielder in baseball, probably one of the best base runners in baseball. And I'm here for it. I'm here for the Daulton Varsho trade, and I'm very happy that the Jays have him, even though this could change in like a couple months. But for now, we'll be happy that we have him.
Best defensive outfielder in
Yes, make
baseball.
that very
Don't
clear.
don't flame Nick in the comments. You know what he means, okay? He's not reaching over here. He's the best defensive
He's
outfielder
been
in
one of the best
baseball.
outfielders so far.
Yeah,
But
yes, he has.
but he's
Yes, he
definitely
has.
not the best.
But I think he's got to
Plays
prove it
well.
over the
Yeah.
course of 162 for him to be in the conversation with the Juan Sotos of the world and the Aaron Judges of the world. So let's wait and see on that front. But defensively, there's no doubt that he is the best outfielder in baseball. So I don't think there's any disputing that. You could see he's 100th percentile in fielding run value. I'm no math guy, Nick, but I think
It's good.
100th percentile is the best. And I think that's pretty good. So he's headed in the right direction. He's been a revelation with the bat so far to start off this year. But again, I think last year he had so much pressure on him because he was dealt for the number one prospect in the organization, because a fan favorite was also included in that trade, and Lourdes Gurriel, who himself is also having a really nice start to the year with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he signed an extension with them, and he looks to have found a home there in left field and playing some DH every now and then for them. So again, this trade can work out for both teams, and I'm okay with that. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are my de facto NL team because I have a soft spot for Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel, and I want them to do well. I want those players to have successful big league careers. I would never wish on someone to flame out like Alek Manoah did. I would never want that on anybody. I want you to make your money, and I want you to be successful in the big leagues, because the more great players that we have in this league, the more fun it is for me to watch, because I know I'll never be in the big leagues. That ship has sailed. But this trade can work out for both teams. Daulton Varsho has been great to start off this year, and I'm excited about the prospects of him keeping this up going forward? That's going to be the big question mark. We've seen him be really good in small sample sizes. We saw it last year. We're seeing it now in the first 23 games of the season. Can we see it for 162 games? That's the big question mark surrounding him. But he's looked to have changed some things. He's looked to have worked really hard over the offseason. And I think this is something that's sustainable. And yeah, no one was more pissed off than Daulton Varsho last year because he didn't meet expectations. So he took that to heart. He worked very hard in the offseason. I mean, it's showing right now. And he's been the Jays MVP so far to start off this year in terms of position players.
Yeah, now if Vladdy and Bo can get or even start to produce 50% of what we know they're capable of, this team will be very, very scary. And they're already doing pretty good, but that'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are on this type of video. And the Jays do play in a little bit, so hopefully they can take care of business again tonight with Kevin Gausman on the hill. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.